Welcome to Microsoft Excel, getting started with web data queries. I'm Jason Bursack, a productivity trainer for IT Showcase at Microsoft. Sometimes you need to get data from an online source. Today I'll show you how to query a website, bring the data into Excel, and merge and append it with data from other sources. We'll go through how you can use the query editor to modify your query, change data formats, and edit imported data. What we'll cover in this session is an introduction to the technique, searching online using a URL, modifying your query, a little bit of visualization using Power BI, and we'll do a demo. So just an introduction. So the functionality that we're talking about here is in the Data tab in Excel 2016. If you're a user of Excel 2013, you may recall an add-on called Power Query, and that was moved into Excel, and in 2016 you'll be using the Data tab and the new query function to do your web queries. This is a screenshot of the query editor in Excel, where if you want to remove some columns or split columns, a lot of times tables on web pages, for example, have images, and you may want to remove that column from your query. There's a variety of techniques you can use to alter your query before pulling the data into Excel. Talk about modifying queries here next and some of the things you can do for that. One example is to delete columns or rows. You may have a column, as I mentioned, maybe an image column, or maybe there's just several columns of data that you don't need in your query, and why pull that into Excel? Even if it's not a memory issue, it's just clutter, and having it around isn't going to help you. And when you start dealing with extremely large data sets, you may start running into memory issues as well, depending on what kind of machine you have. So really it's best to use the query editor to clean up your query and delete columns and rows that you don't plan on using. You may want to split a column as well. For example, maybe you have a column of some names, and maybe it's a last name, comma, first name. And you could use the splitter to make two columns. You could have one column then be the given name and the other column be the surname. Merging queries is another technique that you can use with the query editor. You might pull two queries, and those queries might have some related data, and you want to merge them together. For example, I'm going to use a list of the population of states in the United States, and also a separate query with the state flower for each state, and then I'm going to merge those together to get one sheet in Excel. Here we go, merging some state population data with some state flower data. All right, and once you've done this, you may want to visualize your data, and Power BI is a great tool for doing that. This is the Power BI desktop, and right here I did a web query for large cities in the Americas, and I was able to instantly place that information on a Power BI map using Bing Maps technology and get that data visualized for us. So the combination of being able to grab data from the web quickly with Excel, manipulate the query, get what you want out of it, and then visualize that data with Power BI can be incredibly beneficial. Let's do a demo of pulling data from the web using Excel. I'm going to move here to the Data tab, and all the functionality we'll be using will be going to this button here under the Data tab that says New Query, and I'll be going to From Other Sources and then From the Web. And before we do that, here's my websites that I'm going to use. I'm on Wikipedia here, and I've got a list of U.S. state and territory flowers. As we can see, this is in a table embedded in the website. And right here, we've got several tables on this site too, and this is all population data here. So, if you were to just imagine, it'd be pretty messy to try to, manually copy all this data, right? So we're going to use this query function to really speed this up and make it work well for us. So I'm going to go New Query, and I'm going to drop down to From Other Sources, and then I'll move to From Web. And what that does is it's going to open up a box asking for a URL. So let's put in a URL. We'll start with the states and territories by population. We simply just copy the URL. Just did a Control-C there, Control-V into the URL blank. And here we go. And what this navigator does is it shows you the different potential you have as far as pulling in a table. Now this is not one we want. That looks promising. Maybe this is something we could use depending on what we're doing. This probably not, and this table 3 no. And I think what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to use this table right here. So I want to edit this first. I don't simply want to just load this into Excel. I want to edit this query. So here we go. Click Edit, and we open up the query editor. And I'll just go ahead and refresh that. It's not a big deal. This looks like 2013 data, so it's not going to change in 5 days. But all I'm really concerned about here is the most recent population measurement that they have, which it looks like it's 2013. So what I'm going to do is simply highlight the state name, and then I'll control click. And you can do a control or a shift click here. Like if I wanted the first 6 columns, I can shift click. Likewise, control is for individual selections. So here we're going to individually select 2 columns, and I'm going to go to the Remove Columns button. And if I removed these columns, I would take out the ones I want, so let's not do that. Let's remove other columns. And let's shorten up this name for this query. Right now it's the whole name of the table. I'm just going to call it populations. Okay? All right, this looks good. Let's close and load this to Excel. And as you can see, it does drop in tabular format the population and the state name. Great. Okay. Let's do another one. Returning to my Data tab, new query from other sources from the web. Same thing as we did before. Back to my websites. And now I'm moving to this other Wikipedia page with this other table here. Notice we've got like an image column here in this table, something that really isn't going to be of much use to us in Excel. I'm going to Control-C, Control-V, and OK. And here we go. Once again, we open up the navigator and we select what table we want. Yeah, definitely not that one. Maybe this one. No. OK, this is obviously the one we want. This is that table we were looking at. OK, yeah, I scroll through. Here's that image column that I don't want. It's called table 0. That's a problem. We'll fix it. We'll just go edit the query. And let's start fixing this. I'm going to say I definitely don't care about this blank image column. I don't care about the year either. So I'm just going to select these 2. Get rid of them. And then I want to change this. I'm going to call this flowers. All right, this looks good. Let's go ahead and close and load and bring that into Excel. But what if I want this all on the same sheet? Now, I could do the manual work. I could just manually move this stuff over to the other sheet, but let's merge the queries instead. And by the way, you can get a highlight of the query using this functionality here. I just simply hover over it and it'll show me a highlight. I'm going to right click. I've got my 2 queries saved. And I'm going to select Merge. I'm going to merge my population data and my flower data. So here we go, populations and flowers. Pick the other table. Now we need to choose our join kind. If you have studied databases before, you're aware there are different types of join. But even if you haven't, it's not all that complex. They do explain what exactly they mean here by left outer join, right outer join, full outer join, inner join. And in this case, I want to use an inner join because what I want to do is create a table that has the state name, the population data, and the state flower names, okay? So I only want the matching stuff. And this is basically giving Excel permission to throw out the stuff that isn't matching. And of course, the column that matches is the state column. And it'll tell me I'm only matching 55 out of 71. That's fine. As I said, if I don't have population and flower data for all of them, we'll just get rid of them. And some states, by the way, if you're wondering why there's 55, some states have multiple flowers. And here we go. We've got a state. We've got a new column. And let's not repeat the state name. We don't need to do that. I want the common name. And let's use the scientific name too. Why not? Click OK. And then these names look a little messy. Let's go ahead and rename those columns so they look better. I got to select only one at a time to rename. There we go. Common flower name. Here we go, and then we'll go scientific. Excellent. Let's not call this merge one. Let's call it flower and pop data. Now I want to hack out some rows here on the bottom. There's a few rows that got pulled in that don't have population data down here. Maybe just one. Let's do a sort. Or I can remove empty. Let's just do that. And we'll have to do a little bit more work there. That remove empty didn't work. But we'll go ahead and close and load. Here we go. And now we have achieved our objective where we've got our state, our population, our common flower name, our scientific flower name. And depending on what we were going to do this, we may still have some problems. As you can see, we're missing some data here. We could manually clean that up, or we can clean it up using another tool. I want to try to visualize some state population data here, though, for our next demo. So let's go ahead and, let's see, here's our state population. I'm just going to maybe edit this query one more time. As you can see, you can actually go back in and edit it. If I look through it, I can see I've got the source of some of this missing information right here. Let's use this other function, this remove rows, to get rid of the bottom 5 rows. Remove bottom rows. Let's get rid of 5. Okay, and then let's see. Let's call this 2013 population. Okay, this looks great. All right, let's go ahead and close and load that one more time. Now what I'm going to do some visualization is I'll save this sheet here. And I'll just save it on my PC. And I'll call it test data 112 just so I remember what it is, and I'll go save. And I'm going to switch applications now. I'm going to go over to Power BI Desktop. And I'm going to pull in, actually I got to close this here now. Let me rename this. All right, now I'm going to pull in this data with the getData function. And we'll go over here to our test data 112. And let's see, which sheet do we want? I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. Edit the query. There we go. And I want to make sure this is looks good here. Looks good, I think. Okay. Let's close and apply. And then look how fast we can visualize this data. I'm just going to drag it onto the canvas. And this can be a visualization. It actually has the summation of all the populations right here. That's what this really big one is. And then some zones, and then each of these are a state. But let's be really fun, and we'll select a map. So now I get a map of the United States. And if I hover over a state, I get its population. So you see how I was able to use a tool like Excel, or I was able to use Excel to go grab information from the web, and then I grabbed it in the course of just a couple minutes, and I used Power BI to create this kind of neat interactive visualization right away with it. So that is the power of using Excel and Power BI together, and that is our demo of data from the web. We're at the end of today's demonstration. I hope this training has been valuable to you. You can visit Microsoft.com/ITshowcase/productivity to view additional live webinars and productivity training on Microsoft products and services. Thank you for joining me.